Hello everyone. In our previous lectures, we introduced the social accounting matrix concept. Compared with the general input-output model, the social accounting matrix introduced the factors of production and institutions. And here, the factors of production refer to labor, capital, space, and equipment which are necessary to support production activities. And institutions include households, which is the largest component, firms, government, etc. They all together cause another round of final demands for the production activities. In this week's lecture, we'll address how can we use the SAM tool to address economic problems in our society. In particular, how to improve the quality of life for households of all backgrounds. In our previous discussions of case studies, we have learned that the benefits of economic or tourist policies were not always equally distributed among the citizens. Further, it will be highly valuable for us to determine whether the tourism development or an economic policy causes a widening gap of income levels between different subregions, male and female households, between urban residents and rural residents, between high income and low income households, etc. There are many different ways of differentiating the economic agents. It will be useful for us if we can compare the results of estimated income distribution patterns given different policies. So here we'll showcase how the household decomposition technique can be used in the social accounting matrices. There are many different ways of disaggregating households. You can disaggregate households by the region, by male or female-led households, by income levels, by urban residents or rural residents, the types of land use, etc. So here, in this particular example, we have a goal of alleviating poverty among local residents. So here, we differentiate households by higher income levels and lower income levels, whatever your threshold it is. For simplicity, we have two categories here. If we give the same amount of change in the final demand with different column vectors, and we can compare the impact of each policy by looking at how the income is distributed to the higher income category or lower income category. So in this particular table here, it's a sample of transaction table as we've seen before. The households here are divided into higher income and lower income categories. So here you can see the institution L means the lower income households, and institution H means the higher level households. So the first step is to obtain the transaction table. You can see that the SAM transaction table is expansion of IO model, including factors, lower income households for institution category, higher income households for the institution category, and also others, indicating the rest of the world, the imports, exports, etc. In this case, we only deal with the impact on the local economy. So when we create this standardized matrix, we will be removing the others category. So we'll only keep A through C and factors, low income households, and higher income households here. So you have 6 attributes in total. So we're going to create a 6 by 6 matrix. And next, we're going to calculate the value for each cell. So this is going to be the value of the cell in the original table divided by the lump sum, which is the total here. Okay, now make sure you press F4 so that this position is fixed as you move down. Okay, so then you go to the lower right. You see a little cross sign there. You drag it down. It will calculate for you. So similarly, you can calculate the value for column B. So it equals the corresponding cell in the original table divided by the total sum of that particular column. So make sure that you press F4 so that this denominator is fixed. and drag it all the way down. So this is the final answer here. And similarly, you can finish the rest. So I would like you to finish the rest by pausing this video. Once you finish the creating standardized matrix, excluding exogenous variable others, we can move on to the following step, which is to create identity matrix. So you can pause the video and do it right now. Once you finish the identity matrix, which will look like this, you can go ahead and find out the I minus A matrix. So remember, this is a matrix calculation. You have to press Control Shift Enter at the same time. Okay, please pause the video and work on I minus A. If you finish the I minus A, the value should look like this. Now let's find out the inverse of I minus A. So please pause the video and work on the inverse of I minus A. Again, make sure remember you have to press Control Shift Enter at the same time. Here is the inverse of I minus A. Did you get the similar values as I did? All right, so given this one here, we'll call it a multiplier. Okay, we're going to test a few different policies to see the impacts on the lower income households and higher income households. So the first policy we'll be working on is to, let's say, want to increase sector A's output by 0.1 units. Okay, and how this policy might impact the lower income households and higher income households in terms of the increase of incomes. So here, remember, we need to create a delta Y first, right? This is the column vector. In here, since we have 6 attributes, so it will be 6 by 1 matrix. Okay, and the order of these 6 attributes will be the same as the transaction table here. Okay, so here in this case, I increase A's output by 0.1, so the change for A is 0.1. Okay, and I keep other variables the same. So for B should be 0, for C should be 0, factors production 0, institution L 0, institution high 0. Okay, now I'm trying to find out how it's going to impact my delta X. Okay, so remember the equation. So the inverse of I minus A multiplied by Y equals delta X, right? So again, this is going to be a 6 by 1 matrix. Make sure you select 6 cells here. Okay, and this will be equal, this is M multiply. Okay, now you highlight the inverse of I minus A, comma, and then you highlight the delta Y. Okay, so here is a matrix multiplication. So then you press Control Shift Enter at the same time. And here results. Okay, you need to know how to interpret results. So here is the change of the value for each category based on this policy. Now here, since we're doing some poverty related analysis, I'm particularly interested in the lower income households and higher income households here. You can see that we look at these 2 rows here, and this 0.0369, about 0.04, that's the increase of income for the lower income households. Okay, because they have the same ID here. And the last one, 0.057, or close to 0.06, that's the increase of income for the higher income households. You can see that, yeah, this policy will make all households increase their income overall. And in this case, you can see that the higher income households have a greater increase of income than the lower income households. Okay, so and then you can bring this to policymakers in debate, is this good, or is there something else we can do to increase the low-income households a little bit better, a little bit more, etc. So there's a lot more you can do, but from the data, here is the estimated impact based on this policy. Here I use different colors to indicate these two rows we're interested. So 0.036, I use one color, and I give myself a note. This is an increase of income for lower income households. And the last one, this is an increase of income for higher income households. Okay, and you can see that this is there's a greater increase of income for higher income level households. Okay, just to give myself a note. All right, so you can see that SAM actually is very useful for us to provide some quantitative analysis to test the hypothetical policy. All right, given what you have learned, I would like you to work on two other policies. The first one is, what if I increase sector B's output by 0.1 units? So what are the impacts on the incomes for low-income households and high-income households? And policy 3 is to increase the sector C's output by 0.1 units while keeping other variables the same. So what are the impacts on the lower income household and higher income households? So I would like you to just follow what I did just now by creating a delta Y and identify the increase of income for lower income households and the increased income for higher income households, and which one is greater. Okay, so you can pause the video and work on it. These are my calculation results, and you can compare yours with mine, see if it's the same as mine. And you can see that I also highlight the impact of income for lower income households and for higher income households. And you can see that in this case, policy number 2, higher income households also receive greater increase than the lower income households. Okay, if you move on to policy 3, it's the same case. So you see that there's a greater increase of income for higher income households. So for all three policies they have, both categories receive benefits from a development policy, and there's greater benefits for higher income households than lower income households. How do we explain the differences in terms of impact? There are several possibilities here. The first possibility is that there can be differences in the relative requirements of labor input in each sector's production activities. Some industries may require more labor as input than others. So the difference in income distribution may be due to differences in the relative size of labor input for different sectors. The second possibility is that there can be differences in the composition of required labor inputs. So if an industry requires inputs of a highly trained or highly educated specialized labor force, it would generate high salary jobs for higher income households, but not as many as low salary jobs, so which can cast different impacts on different households as well. So third, there can be differences in the relative dependence on imported goods and services in each sector's production activities. So if a sector receives a lot of imported components, such as labor or raw materials, etc., there will be lower impact on the local region and the relative and households as well. Okay, this completes this week's assignment. So I would like you to finish that and turn it in. So from next week, I will assign a major assignment on input-output model. And the procedure will be similar to what we have been working on. So if you know how to create the inverse of I minus A, how to do a matrix multiplication, and how to interpret results, you should be in a good shape.